are trying to fly over the clouds. They are trying to reach the moon. They are shooting for the stars. And they don't care about your internal controls, your risk management. Because their main objective is to achieve their incentives, is to reach wherever they want inside your organization. And for us as professionals working inside internal audit, inside risk management, inside compliance, we are trying to warn them. If you are trying to reach the moon, if you are shooting for the stars, you need to have enough oxygen so you can reach there. You need to be able to reach there safely. And they say, yes, we understand that, we are going to implement everything in place, but that's not enough. Our role evolved over the last couple of years. Now we are going to a next stage. It's not enough for us to help them achieve their goals and reach to the stars, but we need to make sure when they are going to reach to the moon, they are going to survive. Because they are thinking about just the next strategic goal. What about the goal after that? How can we play an important role as professionals in ensuring that organizations can achieve their long-term strategic goals? How can we play a strategic role on the table? Some organizations, they say, if we implement something inside the organization and the internal auditors, they play their role, it will be effective. But the main issue is that management, they don't see us adding value. They see us as compliance auditors.
You're an auditor, unwelcome in this land of commercial carpeting, where you'll be all up in everyone's questionable expenses, taking heat from all sides, but you wield the strength to persevere.
This is how they see us. They are seeing us coming to check the numbers, making sure that everything is running carefully, and if we see mistake, we are going to blame them. Then we say, no, we are going to look at the role of internal auditor differently. We are going to implement the 3 lines of defenses. And the 3 lines of defenses, what we say? We say, first, management is the first line of defense. They are the internal controls. If management are doing the review and they are implementing internal control, everything will be done perfectly. Then, in case they are not doing it in the right way, we can have compliance department checking on them, we can have risk management, we can have inspections, and at the same time, we are not sure that these guys are doing their job perfectly to make sure everything runs perfectly. So what we do, we will have the internal auditors as the last line of defense. So internal auditors, they are going to check that everything in place before actually regulators or external auditors, they look at our numbers for operation. Over so many years, over the last 20 years, maybe this model was effective to be able to evolve from the old way of looking at operation to have 3 lines of defenses. But recently, we discovered that this model is not really that effective. And why is that? Because so many organizations, they were not able to save themselves from scandals, from fraud, and from non-compliance. More than 2,000 years ago. It took Chinese more than 2,300 years to build it. The wall is so long, stretching more than 21,000 kilometers. It's so high, no one can go over it, and so thick, no one can go through it. Even with that, with the most powerful defensive system, Chinese over 2,000 years, they lost all their walls. Not because someone was able to break the wall or jump over it, but because the enemy, they were able to enter from the gate wide open. The traders, the gatekeepers, they opened the gates because they received bribes. Or they identify which one of these gates they don't have enough manpower and they attack. With the most powerful defensive system, Chinese, they failed in defending their city because they decided to invest in the rocks, in the internal controls, in the risk management. And they forget that what they need to invest in is the human being, the culture inside the organization. Over 2,000 years, the Chinese world didn't protect China from any invasion except in the fictional movie called The Great Wall. So you can see what can happen if inside our organization, inside our banks, inside our government, we decide we are going to implement all this strict control or these compliance functions. We are going to send internal auditors. But what will happen at the end? Wherever controls you have, whatever structure, they say culture can eat strategy for breakfast. It's all about investing in your culture. Understanding how can you make sure these individuals who are doing the operation, they understand the value. They understand exactly why we are implementing these controls. They understand the performance we are trying to achieve. This is the main idea. So let's go and look at the internal auditors. How internal auditors evolve over time. When we look at internal auditors, in the old days, internal auditors started by saying, we need to send these auditors to actually check on the numbers. So if you remember in the old days, usually the king of the city will send the auditors to check on the farmers to ensure they are reporting the right numbers on their farms, so that way we can determine how much we are going to tax them. We are going to look at this organization to see how much profit they are generating and how much revenue they have, so we determine how much we are going to tax them. It was more financial audit. Then they were thinking, maybe financial audit is not only the way for us to look at it, because what if they don't have proper internal controls? So the numbers that they are reporting, they are actually correct, but because there is lack of internal controls, the process that they use to report these numbers is not accurate. So at the end, maybe the numbers are not 100% correct. So now we need to look at the internal controls over financial reporting. We need to look inside about how they are running their operation. So now we are doing financial/operation. Then the government, they say, now we have more regulation. We are going to regulate all these industries. So now we need to ensure that they are also in compliance. So the role of internal auditor evolved from being financial, operational, compliance. But what we can see over the last 25 years, that most organizations that we learn, that they are very successful, they are going to stay forever, they collapsed. What happened to Motorola? What happened to Compaq? What happened to Kodak? When we are asking questions why they are collapsing, where's the risk? Someone said, these are powerful organizations running for 10 of years, they have hundreds of employees. But what they discovered that, when you are running your organization, when you start your organization, the first year of operation, you have around 25% chance of failure. The more you age, the chances of failure will increase. So if your organization like Kodak operating for so many years, now there's 80-90% chance that your organization will die. The same like Facebook, the same like Microsoft, like Google, that any of these big organizations. And everyone was wondering why. Why these organizations that are very powerful, that they have so many controls in place, they are going to fail. They say the main reason, that they are not taking enough risk. If you don't change your heart when you get old, your heart is going to stop beating and you are going to die. So the first idea, when we come back and look at it from a professional standpoint as auditors and risk professionals and compliance, if we have so many controls in place and we stop innovation from happening, we are going to limit the ability of the organization to generate new ideas. We are going to collapse. And the organization, they are going to end up dead. The second thing they say, what about these financial institutions that they are doing creative accounting, creative financial engineering? They collapse also. Why? Because they decided to take crazy risk. They decided to take uncalculated risk and they collapse. So the lesson learned here, that when we look at the organization, if they take massive amount of risk, they are going to collapse. And if they don't take enough risk, they collapse. But the big question that everyone was asking over the last 25 years, where are internal auditors? Why internal auditors? Why compliance professionals? Why you are not adding value to the organization? To go tell board of directors, to go tell the chairman, the audit committee, that management, they are crazy, they are taking unbelievable risk, or management, they are not taking enough risk to help us achieve the goals. The first answer, maybe internal auditors, they went, they audit the processes and the practices and they didn't identify what's wrong. I don't know, I don't like that, because that will show that there is no value for internal auditors. But maybe the actual answer, that internal auditors, they were so busy focusing on doing a checklist, focusing on doing financial audit, operational audit, that they are not looking at the strategic risk of the organization. They are not addressing the big issue that organization is facing. What I call, they are doing stupid audit. What's the meaning of stupid audit? This is what so many organizations over the world until now, unfortunately, they do. They start with the organization and they say, we are going to audit this division. So what they do? They give a call to that division and they say, we would like to obtain your policy, your standards, your procedures. So they get the policy, standards, and procedures. And then when they visit the branch, they meet with the manager and they ask him what you are doing here, how you are running the operation. So he says, this is how we are running the operation. They see what he said is matching with the policy and procedures, so they say, great. Now, we are not going to believe you, we are going to go do the audit. So we are going to take this policy and procedures, we are going to take it and check. Is it done? Yes, check. Yes, is it done? Check. Yes, is it done? Check. Wow! Your manager is actually following all the policy and the procedure. Congratulations. So in that way, you give him a letter saying, congratulations, there are no deficiencies. Your managers are following exactly the policy and procedures, and we are so happy with it. Why I call this stupid audit? Because these are exactly the policy and procedures that's making sure they are not generating money. That's causing customer to suffer. That's causing your vendor to run away from you. And you are so happy that your management is actually following these stupid policy and procedures, rather than you come as an auditor and ask the first question. Why we have these policies and procedures? Are these policies and procedures helping us in achieving our goal, helping us in achieving the performance we need? Or they are actually just in place because we implemented them long time ago and no one decided to change them? And management, they are telling board of directors, we should change it. They say, no, you follow it. This is what we implemented long time ago. This is why the whole world of risk management, of compliance, of auditing moved from something called standard, rule-based, to something called principle-based. IIA, they changed their internal audit standards in 2017, and they say we need to move from the way we look at it as we have implemented the standards that auditors they need to follow. We have the definition of the role of the internal auditor to know. We say we need to have something more. We need to understand what is the mission of internal auditors. We need to move auditor from doing standards, which is what they have to do, to implementing principles, which is how they are going to do it. So someone will ask me, yeah, what's the difference between standards and principles? They are the same concept. I say, no, they are different. Think about it in Malaysia. In Malaysia, if you are driving downtown and you see the traffic light and it's red, what do? You stop. Then, when you see it green, you drive, the answer is no. You look in front of you. If there is still traffic, what do? You stop your car because you don't want to be in the middle of the road, blocking the whole road. Because the principle of traffic light is not you go when it's green, you stop when it's red. The principle that it's managing the traffic. So the main idea, are we following the principles or the standards when we are implementing work? And this is why GOSO ERM, this is why GOSO, internal control standards, this is why accounting standards and internal audit standards change from saying we should follow principles, not standards. At the same time, they say, what is the mission of internal auditors? It's not actually to go and provide what we call audit. The word change, auditors, name is not actually accurate, because what was the meaning of auditor? Someone coming to check on something. No. This is what not we do. This is what we used to do 20 years ago. Today, we provide business assurance. The meaning, we are coming to tell board of directors, we are going to tell management that we are here working inside your organization to provide you assurance that your objectives in 2020 are going to be achieved. So the name of, what we call it, internal audit department changed. It should be business assurance or business excellence department. The role of implementing something called audit plan should change to be called assurance strategy. The same way you have financial strategy, you have marketing strategy, we need to have assurance strategy. So we are playing on a strategic level to tell management, once we implement this assurance strategy, we provide assurance that we have the right internal controls in place to achieve our goals for 2020. We are providing assurance over the future, not trying to be able to say we are in compliance in the past. So this is how we are looking at it. We are looking to provide assurance that the organization, they have internal control, risk management, and governance in place. Not just doing the checklist where we are checking everything and saying everything is okay. Now the question, how can we move from doing what we call operational audit to doing strategic audit? And the answer is very simple. We need to change the questions we ask. Rather than we coming to the organization asking, what are the procedures, the control, what are the risks, what are the objectives? We change the question. First, we ask that question, what is the objective? Then when they tell us the objective, we don't go and look at the risk. We call this risk-based audit. This is all this. Now we say what? We say when they tell us this is the objective, the first one we need to ask, why is this your objective? They say, excuse me? You are internal audit department. You are not management. I say, yes, I understand. But you are management. You are CEO. You are CFO. You say this is your objective. Can you tell me why? Is it like you came up with a crazy idea and you are trying to increase your bonus for the next period, or what? If you don't have an explanation why you have decided to implement this policy, or why you have decided to go over this strategy, or implement this objective, the meaning you don't know what you are doing. And this is why our role as internal auditors, as compliance professionals, is to advise senior management, board of directors, to tell them, look what's going on in management. They don't know what they are talking about. We need to advise them. At the end, we don't make the decision, they make the decision, but we need to provide them the advice. So let me ask you a simple question. Let's see if you know the why. Why do you think newspaper is big? Newspaper is really big, and for us, most of us, when we are reading it, what we do? We make it smaller, right? So why they print it really, really large? Any ideas? Why they have it really large? In the old days, if you remember, it was smaller. Today we have it very large. Well, the answer is very simple. In the old days, it was really not that big. But in London, they implemented a law related to taxes. They say they will tax you on how many pages you print. So what happened? Everyone increased the size of the newspaper. After 10 years, they canceled that law. But until today, we printed very large. Now, why this is important? Because one newspaper in New York decided to reduce the size of newspaper after they learned the story, and they increased their sales by 30%. We need to go to management and ask them why. Why we have this policy in place in hotels? We're saying at 12 you need to check out. Should we change that to accommodate for our operation? All these policy and procedures that you implemented inside your organization for a long period of time, should we go and take a new look at it? These objectives that your management decided to do 20 years ago and they are working on achieving them, should we take a new look at it to ask the question why? Why this is happening? If you remember in the Olympics, in the old days, this is how high jump event will happen. So what will happen? Someone will come to do high jump and he's trying to jump from the front. Can you imagine how hard that to jump from the front? How high can you be? Then someone said, no. The way to do the high jump is to run, and jump from the back. Everyone said, excuse me. For so many years in the Olympics, everyone is jumping from the front. Are we going to reinvent the idea of jumping? He said, yes, maybe.
The 1968 Olympic Games proved to be a turning point in the history of the high jump event. Into the Mexico City Olympic arena came not only a new name to the sport, but a new approach, which was to revolutionize the high jump event. Dick Fosbury from the United States demonstrated a new style of high jump, which some considered strange and awkward. It was a jump he had devised in the previous years, and one which unsettled his opponents. While the crowd at first saw him as a novelty, his continued success at clearing the ever-increasing height soon made it apparent he was a serious contender. Valentin Gavrikov from the Soviet Union failed at his attempt of 2.22 meters, while Fosbury and his US teammate Edward Carruthers cleared their way to a jump-off. The bar sat at 2.24. Carruthers failed, and Fosbury took his new style of high jump over the bar and into the history books. Fosbury had won his gold. Within a few years, the Fosbury flop had become the standard method of jumping in this great Olympic sport.
So the main concept when we are going to go and do auditing is now to ask a very important question. When we ask them what are your objectives, or what are your strategy, or what are your policies, we need to ask ourselves, should we keep them the same or should we change them before going to the stupid audit? Before getting our checklist, we need to ask, maybe if we change the situation, the actual risk or the actual issue doesn't exist anymore, we don't need that policy in place. So in that way, we don't need to actually go to the audit on that policy because the risk is not there anymore and we don't have an issue. Let me give you an example. They say always you need to ask the 5 whys to understand the actual reason. So there's a case happened in the US. They say the Jefferson building is costing a lot of money for the government for them to do renovation. And someone asked, okay, can we know the reason? They said yes, because the guy who's cleaning the building is using a high pressure water. And that's actually destroying the structure of the building, so we need to do a lot of renovation. And someone asked, and why they are using high pressure water? They say because the birds are actually throwing their waste on the building, and we need to use high pressure water to actually remove the waste. They say, and why the birds are throwing their waste? They say because there are so many spiders on the building. And They say, why we have so many spiders? They say, because there are so many insects and ants on the building, and the spiders are coming to eat them. And they say, why we have all these insects and ants? They say, because the management decided to turn on the light all the night long. So because we have the light on, and all the other buildings, there are no light, all the insects will come, the spiders will come, the birds will come, and now we have it. So what is the solution? Just turn off the light at night, and you can save all the cost. Always we need to go and look, how can we change the operation? How can we change how the objectives are going to be implemented? Because maybe that's the best solution, rather than saying, okay, here's the objective, and here are all the risks, now let's manage all these risks, let's put all these controls, and now the operation is crazy. What about in our retail operation, rather than accepting cash from customer, we have a machines where the guy is doing the transaction, but the cash is handled by the machine. So in that way, there is no cash risk anymore. Because the machine is actually taking the money from the customer and giving back the money to the customer. We don't need to go collect the cash, we don't need to have a manager counting cash and have all this risk in our cash operation. So how can we think differently? Because at the end of the day, the objective is to achieve the performance, not to do the audit. When we are going to do an audit, we need to always have in our mind that what we are trying to audit is we are providing assurance to management that future objectives will be achieved. So what we need to do? We need to ask management, what is the performance you are trying to achieve? And they will tell us, this is the performance we are trying to achieve. We don't say, okay, let's look at the risk. No. We ask them, what are your strategies to achieve this performance? Why? Because any performance to achieve it, you need two things. You need the right strategy and the right execution. So the way we look at it, if we want to do strategic audit, is to do the following. First, we need to ask them, what is the objective? Once they tell us the objective, we need to look, are these objectives aligned with the mission of the organization? So if Malaysian airport decided to say, our objective for 2020 is to open a chocolate factory. We ask them, why chocolate factory? They say, because we can sell chocolate in our free zone market. I say, no, but you are an actual airport, you are not actually in retail. If you tell me your objective is to open a hotel for the travelers, yes, it's in the same industry. Sometimes executives, they are trying to achieve short-term gain. So what they do, they go with a crazy objective. So we need to advise them. What if their objective was actually reasonable? We need to increase the number of travelers 20%. All right, I agree the objective. Now what's the strategy? They say, our strategy is to advertise. Now we need to come and ask, is this the right strategy that's going to help us to achieve the objectives? Because sometimes management, the objective is great, but the strategy is not correct. What if they say, no, our strategy is to target using social media? We say, great, the strategy is great. Now, how are we going to execute that? Are you going to use Facebook or Instagram or Google? Because what about the strategy, if it's great and the execution is disaster, we will not achieve the results. Like what chocolate factory decided to do in Malaysia. What they did, they stand in the middle of the street and they say, for us to increase customer participation on social media, we will give you a free chocolate, and you go to your Facebook and you say you like us. So everyone inside the mall is taking the chocolate. He will go to Facebook, I like you, then I don't like you. And he will eat the chocolate. There's no engagement. So maybe the strategy is right, but the execution is wrong. And finally, when management at the end of the day, they say we achieved the performance. Because most of the management in all your organization, what they say at the end of the day, yes, look at the result, we achieved the goals. How can we evaluate that? To ensure that they have the right measure to measure performance. This is moving from doing operational audit to strategic audit. Looking at the objective, strategy, looking at the execution, and looking at the evaluation. So our role as internal auditors moves from doing compliance audit by actually doing a checklist to being strategic advisor, helping the organization achieve the goals. This is how we evolved over the last couple of years. But if we look at the actual main reason why all these disasters happen, why all these scandals, fraud, all this organization collapsed, they say the main reason is culture. Culture is the main reason. The meaning, if you implement all these controls and you have auditors doing the job, and the individuals who are actually doing the operation, they don't actually align their vision and their values with the organization will fail. And when we look at all the changes that happened recently, we can see that in ERM COSO, they say number one, for us to implement effective risk management, we need to ensure we have governance and culture. It's the foundation. If you don't have the right culture, you will not do anything. So someone will say, yeah, how can we ensure we have the right culture? How can we ensure in our operation that the staff They are aligning their vision and their values with the organization mission. Someone will say, it's easy. What we do, we can do auditing of culture. So imagine you go on an engagement, and you say, this week we are auditing the culture. What is your culture, mom? What's your culture, sir? What are your values and beliefs? Do you think any of your employees, they will say, we don't care about the organization? No. So they discovered that auditing culture is not actually about going and auditing the culture inside the organization. No. It's about going and interacting with the management during every audit you do, every engagement, and understand their point of view. What's the meaning of culture? How things are actually done. The meaning, when you ask the manager and you say, sir, did you follow the policy? And he said, yes, I followed the policy. But we can see from his interaction that he only followed the policy because he knew you are going to check on him, but he doesn't believe in the policy and he will not follow it if you are not going to come. The meaning, the culture, he's only doing it because someone will check. We need to make sure that he's aware of the value. He understands how this is going to help us achieve the performance. He is aligning his vision with our organization. Not just saying, okay, our values is integrity, transparency, and all this stuff that we repeat makes no sense. This is why in hotels, they want to ensure that the staff, they are actually doing whatever the vision of the head office said. But how can they ensure that? The head office is actually in US and the branch is in Malaysia. So what they did in Ritz-Carlton, for example, Ritz-Carlton, all the employees in the morning in Ritz-Carlton, they gather at 7 a.m. in the morning and they repeat a very important statement. That statement will make sure that they will align their action with the values of the organization. What's that statement? All the staff in the morning, they will say, we are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. Wow. So the guy opening the door for you, he's a gentleman like you. The lady serving the tea for you, she's a lady like you. So in that way, that will align every action they do, not a statement they repeat, not training they attend, not policy they follow. So how can we go back to our employees, because they are running the operation, and ensure that we don't make them follow these compliance rules, but we make them understand the value of these compliance rules, the value of these internal controls, why we are trying to make them do it, because at the end of the day, it's about the performance, it's about the customers, it's about achieving goals. This is one approach. The other approach, if these board of directors, they don't understand the culture, we can go make them go undercover. What? What's undercover?
With the world economy in a fragile state, top corporations must adapt to survive. The bosses of some of Canada's biggest companies are about to take extreme action. To stay ahead of the game, they're going undercover in their own organizations.
Sometimes we need to give a wake-up call to this board of directors, or maybe in the last floor in the building, to tell them we need to go down, not on an official visit where everything will be fixed, but to see exactly what's happening again, to see the culture. Another approach to actually examine the culture is doing control self-assessment. So what's the meaning of control self-assessment? We are not going to ask them, do you do it or not? Give you a very simple example. Let's say here in Malaysia, we have an organization, and this organization decided not to implement a hard control. You know what's the meaning of hard control? Policy and procedures. They decided to implement soft control. The meaning is the habits, is the norms. And this soft control said that employees are not allowed to come drunk to the organization. They can't put it in writing as policy and procedure because it's offensive. Most of the employees in the organization, they are Muslims. They are not going to come drunk. So you are not going to have it hard control. But how can we ensure if you don't have it as a hard control that everyone will follow? So you do control self-assessment. You actually send a survey where everyone can actually write in the survey or provide their comments without them disclosing their identity. And you ask, do you see employees usually they come drunk to the organization or not? If the survey result that 90% said yes, the meaning yes, actually this is the culture. If they said no, so the meaning is no. Another example, in the hotel, do you see all the employees actually wearing uniform properly all the time? I'm not asking you, I'm not asking about if you do it, if you see everyone inside the organization is doing it. So control self-assessment is more effective because auditors, when they come, everything will be fixed. We need to make sure the guys who are running the operation, they are giving us feedback about what actually happened in reality. This is the value of control self-assessment. So we say fixing culture is number one. Number two, what we need to ensure before implementing any compliance or audit, we need to ensure we have the right governance. What's the meaning of governance? We need to ensure that we have the right strategic direction and the right oversight by board of directors, by the chairman, by the audit committee, to ensure that we achieve our goals. And why is that, especially recently? Because who is running the show? Senior management, CEOs. And sometimes CEOs will try to take advantage of the organization. So the meaning they are trying to shine even the organization is sinking, right? What is the abbreviation? We call it CEO. Do you know what CEO stands for? What's the CEO stand for? Chief Executive. This is in the old days. Today we call it cheat everyone. This is what they do, right? They are trying to cheat the auditors. They are trying to cheat board of directors. They are trying to cheat external auditors. They are trying to cheat management. And this is why we need to have a proper governance, because we need to ensure that they are in control. They are not controlling the show. Let me tell you this interesting story. In 1991, Robert Maxwell, he died. And after he died, they discovered that his organization is actually had the following: 4 billion in liabilities and 2 billion in assets. What do you think? Oops, how can an organization run where they are 2 billion negative? Impossible. Then they were asking question, how come this happened? They discovered that he's the chairman and the CEO. So he's as the CEO fixing everything, then he's telling board of directors, the chairman is, and the CEO is doing great, I'm the chairman. So if someone got full control, like so many organizations in Malaysia, the guy is the chairman and the CEO. No one can question him. He can fire the board of directors. So when we look at the structure of the organization, if we see most of the executives are running the show, the chairman is the same as the chief executive officer, and we can see they are hiring the auditors. They are actually controlling who will be hired on board of directors and determining the compensation for board of directors. They are in control. And this is completely the wrong structure. We can't have a structure that's not operating perfectly and then we say, oh, we implement compliance and we implement internal control and risk management. They are not going to work. Because at the top of the organization, the tone at the top is destroyed. And they are going to manipulate all the facts.
Just thought you might want to know, sales aren't up, they're down.
Ooh. So this is what will happen if you leave this board of directors without controls. And there is a very interesting case happened for Olympus. They actually selling, they are camera makers in Japan. So they decided to go and acquire a UK firm. And then the CEO discovered that the board of directors approved a huge payment, which is around a third of the deal, to 2 financial firms. Then he asked questions to the board of directors, what's going on? And he discovered that the answer is not really pleasant. Why? He discovered that in board of directors, imagine they have 14 board of directors, out of them, only 3 they are independent. The rest they are not independent, so the rest they are executive management. Wow. And not only that, the independent directors, they had no idea about the technology and risk management and governance. Even one of them, he's a doctor. And then he discovered that these guys are actually running the show with the help of the chairman. And when he's asking questions about the transaction and asking more questions about how this happened, who approved this, they told him, we are going to terminate you, we don't want you anymore. We are the board of directors, we are board, we decide who is hired, who is fired, you are fired. Then what he decided to go? He decided to go and actually leave the organization, and then the FBI, they run an operation and they discover there's a fraud more than $1 billion US. Because the board of directors manipulated everything to benefit, because they are the executive management. So if we don't have the right structure, what will happen at the end? Shareholders, the government will take over and will actually have control over the organization. So what is the right structure? We need to ensure that non-executive management is running the show. We need to ensure that chairman and the CEO, they are not the same. We need to ensure we have audit committee made out of non-executive director, hiring the auditors and determining the compensation of the board of directors. So it's not enough anymore for us as an auditor to go to organization and say, we need to look at these operational issues. We need to ensure that at least we have the right structure and culture. If we don't have them, nothing is going to work. Our world is going to go to a waste. We'll send the recommendation and they say, yes, don't worry about it. We know it's happening. So what's the value? When we look at all these issues, we need to understand how they can be practiced in real life. Why? Because sometimes internal auditors and compliance professionals, they change the culture of the organization. So how this can happen? Let me give you an example. Let's say you left your organization and you decided to work for Audit. And you are working inside the internal audit or compliance department. So on a normal audit, you went to audit one of the branches. And while you are auditing this branch, you discovered that in the maintenance department, one of the guys in the maintenance department, he fixed a phone for a customer after the warranty expired 1 day. Is this according to the policy? No. So you are concerned, how come the compliance is not being followed inside that maintenance department? So you go ask this guy, you ask him, okay, can I ask you a question? You have fixed the phone for the customer after 1 day. Why you did it? He said, sir, this customer, he came and bought iPhone 5 with 2 years extended warranty, nothing happened. He bought iPhone 6 with 2 years extended warranty, nothing happened. And he bought iPhone 7 with 2 years extended warranty. 1 day after the warranty expired, something happened to his phone. So I thought I don't want to lose that customer. It's very important for us. So I decided to fix his phone without actually charging him anything. Now, for us, as compliance department or audit, we were like, all right, good, what he did. But he violated the policy and the procedures. So what we are going to do? We are going to take our audit report and we are going to say, violation, we have deficiency, the guy didn't follow. Do you think this is the right approach? And then we do corrective action. We say, you, the guy in the maintenance department, you have to pay us for the damages because we didn't collect the money from the customer. Is this the right approach? What do you think? If you do that, you are changing the culture inside the organization and saying, screw the customer and follow the procedures. How many organizations they do that? When you go to stay in a hotel, they say, sir, after 12 you check out. 12, 1 minute, we charge you. So you say, I'm not going to stay in this hotel anymore. So are your policy and procedures that are actually audited by auditors and compliance department making the guys in operation freak out and saying, forget about the customer, forget about the objectives, just follow the policy and procedures? Or we can come to this guy and say, what you did is great, thank you so much, you helped our organization. So what we need you to do? Always do and fix for customer whatever you like so you can achieve the goals. No, because that will make fraud issues happen, that will make non-compliance issues. So what is the solution? The solution is to come and say, thank you so much, what you have done is great, it's helped us a lot. However, you didn't follow the policy and procedures. So what is the corrective action? We are going to create a new policy and procedure saying, if a customer came and you believe he's a valuable customer for us, and you would like to fix his phone free of charge, go ahead, do it after the approval from the branch manager. So we have now a policy. Within 10 days after the warranty expired, if someone comes and you believe it's valuable, you get the approval and you fix it. Now we implement policy and procedures to help us achieve our goals. This is how we need to look at it. You as an auditor, as compliance professional, can change the culture inside the organization. Because when we speak about operation, we speak about business, it's all about relationship, right? Customers will come and interact with your organization and they have good impression. So they fall in love with you. They use your services. But on the way, they are going to have issues for sure. If you don't fix these issues, customer will leave. And we don't want this to happen. You don't want to be like this guy. This guy is actually crying. Do you know who's this guy?
Steve Butler.
The CEO of Nokia, he's crying. And why he's crying? Look what he said. He said, we didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost. Yeah, do you know what they did? They forgot customers. So what is the lesson learned here? What you need to do, go back and look inside your organization at a very important file called customer complaint file. And see what customers are complaining about your policy and the procedures and your controls. And try to go speak with management. Maybe we need to change these controls and policy and procedures, because if customers are not happy and customers are going to leave us, we are going to bankrupt. It's not about being so happy following the Nokia way. It's about making sure that actually we are going to achieve the performance while customers are happy, so they will sustain us for the future. And this is the main idea, looking at the performance. Because they say it's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent one. It's the one that's most adaptable to change. So the question, when we go to do any engagement, or we look at any compliance issue, are we asking the question, which is, what went wrong, and how can we fix it? Or we are asking the question, what's gonna go wrong? What's gonna happen in the future? Are we doing something called future-based auditing? Are we focusing on conformance or performance? So many organizations, especially in banking sector, they say, yeah, conformance is very important because we have the central bank, we have the regulators. Yes, I understand. So the way you need to look at it, you need to look at it as an integrated part. As we are trying to achieve the performance. Performance is number one. No performance, no operation. While we are trying to achieve the performance, we need to make sure we are in conformance. And how can we do that? By providing assurance that we are in conformance and we have the control to achieve the performance. That's the idea. Ensuring that conformance and performance, they are aligned. And focusing more on performance. So let's say 80% of the time we've spent on providing assurance of the performance and 20% on the conformance. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have the performance, we die. At the same time, when we look at the risk, it's not only about preventing the organization from losses, but also about looking at the opportunity if we manage that risk. How can we actually generate more value? What do you see here as an auditor? What do you see? You see stairs, you see monkey, you see letter E. Can you see everyone the letter E? This is the shadow of a letter E. This is based on a very interesting book called The Law of Subtraction. They say there are two individuals in life. Management, they see what is in front of them. And the auditors and compliance, they will see what is missing. This is what we need to do. We need to go to the organization and see what is missing. We need to go to the organization and see what is hidden. Because these are the issues that's causing us to lose. These are the risks inside our operation. But most of us inside auditing, what we do to actually find these issues and risks and non-compliance, we take a trip and go to the branch and obtain the document and start looking for it. But most of the time, the guys who are doing all these irregularities, they are doing non-compliance. What they are going to do, they are going to try to hide their activities.
1 minute please. Time, thank you. Could you all please put down your pens and bring your papers to the front of the room? Thank you. Well done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, you're too late. Gave you plenty of warnings about time. You failed. Sorry.
Excuse me, do you know who I am?
I have absolutely no idea.
Good.
So are we still in the Stone Age? Are we still doing auditing by going physically and looking at that spreadsheet and trying to use our eyes to be able to examine what's happening? Are we still in bedrock, where rather than doing technology and doing actual processes and automating our operation, we are going to do everything manually? Are we running the show using Word documents and Excel sheets, or we are moving to the new age? Today, organizations, they are focusing on doing something very important, which is we call it risk intelligence. The meaning they are trying to make sure that their staff, their employees, they have the ability to identify the risk in the operation. They have the ability to then assess if this risk is high or low, and then decide what we are going to do to be able to manage that risk. But they are focusing so much in making sure that these individuals, they understand the concept inside their heads without giving them tools. It's very good for you to identify the risk, but then when you are trying to assess the risk, are you trying to assume? Are you trying to do it in the old way, or you are trying to use technology? Unfortunately, if you are trying to do it using technology, but you have the old mindset of Stone Age, this is what will happen to you. So it's not enough for you to get these new tools. Oh, we bought SaaS system, we have now ACL. But what about your mindset? How can we move you from thinking I should not do it manually, that I need to rely on this software for me to work with them, to integrate my work with them? They say today AI is the new electricity. So when we are thinking about implementing anything, we need to understand how can we use it in our operation. What's the meaning of that? The same way management, they started the year by saying, these are our key performance indicators and this is what we're going to try to achieve. You need to say, we as auditors, we are not going to come after the facts. We need to implement from today something called key risk indicators. What are the key risk indicators? They are indicators integrated in the system, telling us that risk is about to happen. This ATM is about to run out of cash. This operation is about to go out of compliance. So we can go and address this issue in advance. The meaning, we need to manage risk in real time, not after the facts. Not doing annual risk assessment and we say the risk is higher, low. So when we think about it, we need to look at the indicators. We have leading indicators and we have lagging indicators. For example, we have less demand. So what's going to happen? There's going to be less orders. So at the end, we are going to have less sales. So if we anticipate that to happen, we call it, in that case, we have key risk indicator. It looks like the demand is going down. So what we need to do? We need to address that risk. We need to give promotion. So if we do a promotion today, in the future, the orders will increase because of the promotion, so we will not have less sales. So how can we manage risk? How can we rely on all these data, software, application to manage it in real time? They say today, the power of organization is managing that risk. Why? We don't want to use this anymore. We don't want to use this tool anymore, which is what? We are trying to guess. Are you trying to guess? Yes. In so many of your organizations, you are trying to guess how much the risk of cybersecurity. You are guessing, like the impact will be, and the likelihood will be. Why? Because you are trying to read some research and guessing. You are guessing actually the financial impact of the currency change. The impact will be, no more guesses anymore. Don't assume anymore. You need to know. And how do you know? When you integrate your operation with what's going on. You get the actual indicators from the market and you are managing your risk in real time. That's the power. You say, yeah, is this happening today? Our organization managing risk in real time? The answer is yes. Give you an example. Today, all operation is done in what we call it less than a second. The meaning, if you want to go to apply for a loan, in the old days, you need to go and submit a proof of address. How? You get your electricity bill and submit it. Can we do fraud here? Yes. I can go and I can do Photoshop electricity bill, I submit it. I need to get salary certificate. So what we do, we get fixed salary certificate. What's happening today? There's integration. What's the meaning integration? They are actually saying the electricity authority will allow you to have access as a bank because you give them your consent. Your employer will actually provide your salary certificate directly to the bank because you give them consent. So everything is happening in real time. All the transactions are happening in real time, all the risk is managed in real time, all the indications are happening in real time. And that's the power of actually connecting everything together. So at the end, what we need to actually learn from the whole session we are speaking about, that when we are looking at operation, executives, they are trying to make money. And they are hoping that your internal controls are not getting cashed. And what you are trying to do as auditor, as a compliance professional, you are trying to look at the operation and say, we need to identify these unusual transactions. But the old approach that you are actually using traditional way of doing it, by doing physically or by actually doing it manually. The new approach, we call it intelligence-based approach. By first focusing on understanding the culture, ensuring culture and governance in place, and then focusing on the performance rather than the risk. Then saying, how can we integrate these risk indicators inside the operation? And after that, making sure that artificial intelligence tools are used to manage risk in real time, and do continuous auditing and actually gamify compliance. Making sure that compliance is fun, is actually interesting for organization to achieve the goals. So what's the meaning compliance fun? Let me give you 2 examples and then we can finish. What's the meaning of compliance fun? Your kids, I have kids 2 years old. Do you know how difficult for me for him to wash his hands? When I would tell him, you need to wash your hands for at least 10 seconds. Can you do this? He said, finish. I said, no, 10 seconds. So how can I ensure he is following the compliance rules of 10 seconds? Because they say, to kill 99% of the germs, your kids need to wash for one minute. No, 10 seconds is enough. You have this difficulty, right? We can make compliance fun by making it interesting for him to do it. Like this.
Wait! To wash off all the germs, you need to wash your hands for an entire minute.
Ahmed, isn't the soap you were using have a timer?
Huh? Lifebuoy?
A hand wash with a timer.
Yes, because other antibac hand washes could leave behind germs. But Lifebuoy color changing hand wash turns green to signal 99.9% germs are gone.
Very simple thing, changing the color. The kid is having fun. He's saying, I want to wash more. The color doesn't change. Now change, yes. The same way we can implement it in the organization. Make sure the executives, they don't feel compliance as something add-on. It's integrated, it's part of the business, it's reflecting really what's happening and giving us the